Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Morning.
Where are you located now?
Sorry,
Sharath,
sir.
can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Where are you located?
So presently I'm in Hyderabad, sir.
You are in Hyderabad. You are a native of Hyderabad?
I'm not a native of Hyderabad. I'm a native of Jagitial, sir. It's a district in Hyderabad.
Okay. Is it your first interview?
Yes, sir. This is my first attempt and first interview.
Oh,
Wonderful, great. Oh, that's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you,
Not
sir.
many do that. Not many make it these days. Wonderful. And what were your or what was your optional subject for the IAS examination?
Sir, my option is Bachelor of Veterinary Sciences and Animal Husbandry, sir.
No, but your optional was something else.
Animal husbandry and veterinary sciences.
No, but his optional, sir is asking, his optional was anthropology.
Paper for the IAS.
That is Veterinary Science and Animal Husbandry, sir.
Yeah, that's what he's written. Yeah.
No, in his optional, he's written anthropology.
No, animal husbandry and veterinary science.
Veterinary science. And
That's his degree.
No, I think it comes under item 11.
Okay.
that's right. That's right. Animal husbandry and veterinary science.
Yeah, that is.
Kiran, do you remember there was a gentleman called Rajendra Nayak,
Yeah.
the Punjab cadre? He was
I know him, sir.
You know
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, I know, remember him. Yeah.
He settled nearby in Koilon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Did you ever teach animal husbandry and veterinary science after graduating?
Sorry, sir, I could not hear you.
Did you practice as a veterinary surgeon?
No, sir, I haven't practiced anything. But as a part of my internship program, as a part of my graduation, I have served in rural areas in terms of internship for at least 1 year, sir, after graduation.
Kiran, you start talking to him.
Okay. How is it that you went in for veterinary science and then switched over to the idea of taking the civil service?
Madam, my journey towards veterinary science is because I was passionate towards animal sufferings because I have grown in a humble background where my father is from an agricultural profession, whereby we also have some of the animals. So I wanted to pursue animal husbandry as my graduation. Then after, I come into civil services because of this humble background and social background. I always had a empathy towards social causes, where I was inspired by the social challenges, and I wanted to be a catalyst of change, where I can bring a positive change, and I want to serve my nation with the fullest of my potential and lead from the front line.
Good. Okay. Now, you come from a tribal background, right? Can you tell us something about this Lombardi tribe? What is the background of this? And are many people still, observing all the rituals which were followed by this tribe earlier?
Lombardi tribe, mostly it is origins in the northern part of India, man. Then after, because of their profession, they are usually usually supplying arms, horses, and food in medieval kingdoms. Then after, they have settled in various parts of India, including the southern part, man. Regarding their culture, their traditional part, our culture mostly includes praying nature and also praying gods, demigods, which are of natural origin, and we also pray animals to a certain extent.
Okay. You said that your interests lie in cooking vegetarian food.
Yes.
Are you specialized in any particular kind of cuisine? What kind of food do you cook?
Mostly, ma'am, I cook for my daily dietary purposes. Regarding specialization, it will be mostly vegetables like fries. The Telangana special vegetarian is pulusu, pachi pulusu, which we usually take in our diet.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, ma'am.
No, I didn't get the last part. In Telangana, what is the speciality?
One is
Vegetarian?
pachi pulusu, ma'am. Pachi pulusu that we usually take. Pachi pulusu.
Okay.
Okay.
Pulusu and pappu also they say. Pappu is parippu, is it?
Yes, sir. It can also be served with pappu.
Lentils, huh?
Yes, sir. Lentils.
And you mentioned your other interest as Western dance. What kind of dance? I mean, are you doing it? Have you joined some group, or how do you pursue this interest?
The interest of Western dance has been developed during my school days and university days. Where some occasions we usually dance as a part of our culture, but in terms of Western dance, it's mostly the Bollywood type of dance that we pursue.
That is not Western Bollywood dance.
But we are mostly inspired by these cinematic dances that we had done.
Okay, because I thought I'd ask you about the tango, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm not specialized in tango or this kind of dance.
Okay, no, since you mentioned that it was okay. Tell me one thing. Apart from cooking and dancing, what are your reading habits?
Sorry, ma'am, I could not hear you.
What are your reading habits? What do you read?
Reading habits generally regarding my preparation. At morning sessions, I do read newspaper. Then after
Which paper? Which paper?
the Hindu, ma'am. The Hindu.
Did you read it today?
Yes, ma'am. I have gone through the headlines.
What were the headlines?
Ma'am, can I take a moment?
Oh, sure.
Ma'am, one is regarding the RBI repo rate and inflation rate. The second one is regarding Telangana paddy procurement issue as a regional news.
Okay. Tell me, how will your background of animal husbandry help you in the civil service?
Ma'am, the experience of breeding animals may not be directly linked, but my experience of observation and taking quick decisions where the animals cannot express their suffering generally like we humans do. But for animals, we have to be empathetic to understand their problems. In such cases, we observe the situation of the animal. I think the same observation capacities can be implemented as there is a demand for observation in terms of administration, where most of the people cannot express their suffering as they usually do. So this observation language can be used, and I can make decisions because I have learned that through my reading of animals, ma'am.
Right, good. Have you been for mock interviews with any other organization in the last few days?
No, ma'am. This is my first mock interview.
You prepared for the exam on your own, or did you seek some help?
Yeah, preparation is mostly my own, ma'am. I have not gone to any institutes.
So that's very good. Okay, thank you. Over to you, Vinita.
Okay. Your first choice, hello, Nayak, your first choice is Telangana, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you are posted to a district in Telangana in due course after 4 or 5 years. Now your government has announced a whole lot of welfare schemes. Name some of these welfare schemes and tell me how you would, which of these you would make sure are properly implemented in the district. Across all socio-economic, there are a number of schemes. So can you list out some of these schemes and tell me which ones you would implement? Take any district that you want and see the relevance of these schemes there.
Yeah, ma'am, taking a choice of district, I would take my district, the Jagitial.
What is the district, please?
Jagitial, ma'am. Jagitial, the district I said,
Jagitya.
because I'm aware of the ground root realities of my district.
Yes.
The schemes that I can think of right now is from the veterinary graduation, the SRTP scheme, ma'am, sheep scheme from my background, where the government is emphasizing on distribution of sheep to the farmers,
Yes.
to a certain community like Yadavas.
Mhm.
This is the scheme I would take up. And regarding implementation, ma'am, we are procuring the sheep from the surrounding states like Maharashtra,
Mhm.
Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. We are procuring the sheep from there and we are giving to the farmers of this Telangana. But the gross reality is, ground reality is, there are many of the leakages that are happening in this scheme also. And one more thing that I observed is because of geographical differences and changes in the animal adaptation to different geographies, there has been high amount of mortality, which is prevalent because of the scheme. So in that case, I plan to go for a quarantine or isolation processes where there will be a minimum buffer period where animal can adapt to the local conditions, whereby we can reduce the mortality rate. This is the first thing that I want to do, ma'am.
Okay, that is mortality rate of animals.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
mortality.
Okay. Now the thing is that you have given up your, well, not given up, you have chosen a career not as a veterinary doctor, but as an administrator. So you have to look beyond your immediate knowledge. Of course, you've talked of seeds, you've talked of your own skills. But what is the status of health, education, especially of the girls in your district? Since you say you know it very well, can you give me some idea? And do you know what schemes there are for these?
Yeah, regarding education, ma'am, there is low level of literacy in overall Telangana and also.
I beg your pardon. There is no. Talk about your district now. That is, and on your district, which you know well.
Sorry, ma'am.
Let's concentrate on your district. I mean, the chances of your being posted to your district not very high, but you'll be somewhere in Telangana. But since you said you know your district well, what is the situation of schools, of girls' education? Is there any gender gap in the literacy of boys and girls, infant mortality, sex ratio, all these issues? Are you aware of them? Are they good?
With my little knowledge, I have a very fair idea about the education system and gender gap, ma'am. But at the grassroots level, because I am from the village, where I can see that there is a patriarchal mindset where girl children are not allowed to pursue education.
Then what are you going to do to persuade them?
To persuade them, the first thing that I have to do is, rather than focusing on demand side, I should first create a supply where there are lack of teachers in the grassroots level.
I'm sorry, please continue. I left my phone somewhere, it's ringing. Yeah, please continue. Let it ring. Sorry.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so I want to ask you one or two more things. What are some other schemes? What is this 2 BHK scheme that your government has announced?
Ma'am, I have a fair idea regarding the scheme. If you allow me, I can think about that. Only fair idea, not a clear-cut idea.
So you must learn up about all these schemes. You want to serve in Telangana. Yes, you're already an expert in veterinary science, but now you'll be dealing with human beings and governance and administration. So of course you learn as you go along, but please read up all this. I've just one more question. You got a prize for essay. Please tell me what was the subject of your essay and what you wrote.
My subject is regarding environment, ma'am, protection of trees.
Environment.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your essay for which you got a prize?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So does that environment include climate change, global warming?
Yeah, mostly my essay has involved around protection of trees, ma'am, rather than
protection of
trees.
Trees. So what is the importance of trees and forests in the context of stopping global warming, and why is it important?
In the context of global warming, ma'am, they act as decarbonizing agents when they can capture carbon sequestration.
That's right.
And in terms of climate change, ma'am, they are our primary weapons to tackle the climate change.
That's correct. Now, I really think you need to know much more about the various programs of your government. You know, there's so much talk about the 2 BHK scheme that everyone should have a pakka house. It's implemented in the rural areas, etc. And there are various other schemes that your chief minister has announced, which are hugely talked about. So please familiarize yourself with this, and all the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll just bring my phone and put it off.
Well, let me first let me ask you first of all, Sharath, what are the most important role models you have you've had during your life?
Sir, my role model at the initial stages is always my dad. Because before farming, he's a migrant to the Middle East states, where he has worked as a laborer. And he's been out from my family and from the country for more than 10 years.
Okay.
And second thing is my mom, sir. Although she has played a very crucial role, but at the initial stages, I was mostly inspired by my father because of his hard work, and always wanted to make them proud. And these are the 2 initial role models for me. Then after, as I grew up, as I got matured enough, I always inspired from Mahatma Gandhi and his peace and non-violence.
Okay.
Then I was also inspired by Subhash Chandra Bose, who has filled most of patriotism in me.
Okay.
These are the 4 role models who I get.
Very good. Do you know a famous son of Telangana? It was not Telangana then, but a famous son of Telangana who rose to the heights, to the leadership of India. And do you know the person, the title of his biography and who the author was?
Sir, I think we are talking about the half lion, about Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao.
Yes, yes.
I think, sorry, sir, I could not remember the name of
the name of the author is Vinay Sitapati.
Vinay Sitapati. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You know, and do you know whether he's written anything further?
I'm not aware about his other writings, sir.
Okay, he's written about the 2 leaders of the BJP also later on. I don't know if you have not heard. It's called Jugal Bandi. Now tell me, what in your opinion was the contribution which P.V. Narasimha Rao has made, one of the biggest contributions he has made to both in terms of his political style, his functioning, as well as for the progress of India? What in your view is it?
Sir, in terms of political side, he has headed the role of Prime Minister, and he has led the minority government at that age, at that period of time, sorry, sir, in 1991.
Okay.
So that leadership qualities of combining all the parties, all the members to stand for a united cause when India is going through the crisis or economic crisis, I think that is the leadership role that he has immensely played.
Okay.
I think that's vigor, that strength has inspired me. Okay. Then after, for a progressive India, he has took many of the decisions, infamous decisions at that time, but now it is famous decisions.
Yes.
The economic reforms that he has brought on, 1991 LPG reforms.
Okay. Yes. And some of the more controversial decisions. Are there any controversial decisions in which he has been, in a sense, which have been laid at his door, as it were?
Sir, there are some apprehensions that regarding to save his minority government, there was some sort of defection kind of thing, buying of MPs in the state.
No, but something more which has now come full circle in recent days under the BJP government. What is it which had made major decision which he had failed to anticipate properly, and it caused a major controversy in the state of UP? Tell me.
So that the apprehension that sir has not handled the crisis of this Babri Masjid demolition properly.
Exactly. Very good. I think that we got what I was having. Now tell me, in terms of the progress and evolution of democracy in India, which are the landmark principles and institutions which have, in a sense, over the years helped to strengthen our democracy? And what would you identify as the major aspects of, or principles and institutions, or laws, or what, or even institutions? Okay.
So talking about institutions, the three major institutions, the legislature, the executive, and judiciary has played an immense role in upholding the principle of democracy in India. And there is an emergence of fourth pillar of democracy, that is media, which is playing a proactive role.
And which is the most important institution that has safeguarded that in recent times?
It is judiciary, sir, as far as my...
Not so much judiciary as a law, as or an institute, or an institution that has been built because of that. I mean, in recent times.
Sorry, sir, I could not understand.
Right to something that for the strengthening of our democracy. What is it? Transparency in government. What is it called?
Right to vote, sir.
Right to information.
Right to
right to information. Now, apart from that, are you aware? Have you any background in terms of the important Supreme Court decisions that have strengthened? You have, one of the points you have failed to mention is secularism. Is secularism today an important role? And what do you see? How do you see the role of, or the future of secularism in India?
Indian secularism is a positive secularism where the state has an equal role for all the religions, all the beliefs and faiths. The secularism in India will increase much positively in the future also. There is a balanced secularism that we can expect in the future, near future also, sir.
Okay. It's not the kind of wall of separation that you have in the West, but a kind of promotion of all religions without discrimination. Do you see that is being strengthened in India or weakened now?
That is strengthened, sir. To a greater extent, it is strengthening, and it will strengthen in the near future also.
Okay. So you don't see any need you don't see any problem with the secularism in India in the present also and the future.
Sir, even we talk about the ancient times also.
Yes.
People have existed in that harmony of secularism, respecting each other's diversity, each other's faiths and beliefs, and today also we are doing the same, and I expect the same thing in the future because it's a part and parcel of our daily living.
Okay, an important element of the strengthening of democracy in India is, of course, the constitutional provision of positive discrimination in India. Would you say that?
Yes, sir. Positive discrimination.
In terms of the various reservations policies that we've had in the initial stages, the reservations were intended to be for a limited period, but it has remained. How long do you think that this reservation policy will remain, and how long do you think it should remain, and what is the impact of it? Do you think that it has played a major role in the equalization of our society? Empowerment?
Yes, sir. In the initial years, it was only for a decade or so.
Yes.
To build the equality, but later on, it has been continued because of disparities in empowerment.
Yes.
For example, if you take the literacy rate of STs,
yes,
it is just 58% according to the 2011 census,
yes.
Whereas the national literacy rate is 74%.
Okay.
There is a 15% disparity between the national literacy rate and literacy rate of scheduled tribes.
Okay.
The same has been continuing intergenerationally. Although there is an increase in the proportion of numbers from 28% to 8% to 58%, the proportional gap between the national average and the community average is same. So in these terms, the reservation is justified, sir. Then till what extent it will be continued, so I cannot predict, but for sure there has to be an equalization where we don't need any reservation and establishing an equitable society. That is what I expect for, sir.
One last question, and that is about BIMSTEC. Do you know what BIMSTEC is?
Yes.
Could you give me an idea of what it is and what the results of the last meeting, virtual meeting was?
It's a regional grouping
Yes.
Bay of Bengal.
What does it? What does Bay? Okay, go ahead. You go ahead. Sorry. Bay of Bengal.
Initiative of multilateral.
Multi-sectoral.
Thanks for correcting, sir. Bay of Bengal Initiative of multi-sectoral technological. Sorry, sir, I could not.
Cooperation. Okay, technological and economic cooperation. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. What did the latest? What do you have an idea of what the latest meeting resulted in? You've been reading the Hindu, I suppose.
Yes, sir. I could not recollect that at the moment. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, you must know that the charter, after almost 30 years, the charter was finally agreed upon, and specific areas of multi-sectoral cooperation were actually eventually agreed upon, both not only in terms of the charter, but a convention on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters, on mutual cooperation in diplomatic training, on technological transfers, on digital space, on disaster management. A lot of things has been happening. You need to get into more detail. I noticed that since this is your first let's say exposure, you must know that people go into granular details. They are needed. At the same time, you must be able to give project the broad picture, but also show that you know granular details. And as my colleagues have told you, you need to know more about your own state, your own district particularly, and in terms of specifics, as you said about the illiteracy and literacy rates among the scheduled tribes and the general, you must be able to do that at a district level for many of these important indicators. Okay, I'll just now hand over to.
Can I ask just one more question, sir, with your permission, Mr. Nayak?
Go ahead.
One quick question. Hello, Mr. Nayak.
Yes.
You just we talked about positive discrimination. Tell me what do you understand by the term affirmative action?
Affirmative action is a role played by the state.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. It's a role played by the state where there is some sort of.
Thank you.
Can I take a pause, ma'am, with your permission?
No, if you don't know the answer, that's okay. Just look it up.
Okay, ma'am. I will look into that.
It's actually a set of policies and guidelines by which you don't have any reservation for a community. Say it could be a minority group or a minority committee, but you take active action to promote their welfare in terms of employment, in terms of other things. For example, in recruitment, say to the police, very often you are asked to make sure that there is a representation of women, there is a representation of religious communities, so that an important force for law and order does have representation for all over. So it's not a reservation, but it's a policy to actively promote recruitment of these people without any change of guidelines. So that is what is affirmative action. It plays a very important role actually, and in ensuring the participation of those groups which would not normally have the proportionally the representation or say in important institutions. Okay.
Thank you.
Just one tip for you. You don't have to know everything. They're not, testing your knowledge.
That's
they are
right.
tested in your mains. So if you do not know an answer, don't try and bluff.
Yeah.
Just say, I'm sorry, I do not know. That's it.
That's right.
That's perfectly acceptable.
Thank you.
Yes. Tell us, you look around in the country, what do you think are the big problems, or the big challenges that India as a country is facing today?
Sir, one thing that I can think of which needs an immediate action is climate change.
Pardon me?
Second thing is tapping the potential of demographic dividend, where most of the youth are unemployed.
Okay.
And there is also a divide of gender gap. Gender gap is still prevalent in India, which has to be addressed in a positive sense.
Gender.
Yes, sir.
What
Sir, these
else?
are, sir, in political sense, democratically, there has to be increase in the voter participation in terms of these elections also, sir, which is usually decreasing day by day.
What else?
Sorry,
You're
sir.
talking about the challenges that India is facing.
So this is what I can recall right now.
I see.
Thank you.
Okay, if I suggest that poverty, unemployment, these are two major problems that India is facing, do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate on this poverty part? When we say that there is a challenge of poverty in India, what do we mean by that?
There is a prevalence of poverty in India, sir. There is a prevalence of poverty in India,
Widespread problem.
which is the major challenge that we have to address at the prima facie level. And also, the poverty is not too high, like we generally have an idea. Like there is also a relative poverty and there is absolute poverty in India. But the relative poverty thing is very much exposed.
And what about unemployment?
It's unemployment is also because of huge population and limited number of resources to work. So this has been tackled by the government, and there are measures to tap our demographic potential and make the India the demographic capital of the world by the means of exporting our demography, and also through the means of skilling, reskilling our youth. And also we are also promoting Make in India and starting the entrepreneurial hubs, which we are moving progressively towards it.
You think the program Make in India is as great a challenge as tackling poverty and unemployment? If we were to prioritize, what would be your priorities?
Sorry, sir, I could not understand the demand of the question. Please pardon me.
See, you talked about three things. You talked about unemployment, you talked about poverty, and you say that Make in India is the next challenge, next great problem.
Sir, it's a solution for unemployment where we are. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. What else other than these two? Can you think of another major challenge that
Hunger, sir.
the world is facing?
Hunger is also one of the prominent problems.
Beg your pardon?
Hunger, sir.
Hunger.
Yes.
Hunger and poverty are related, aren't they?
Both are related, sir. That is also related because of poverty also. There is high amount of hunger that is prevalent in India. That is evident in these COVID times also, where most of the population, I think, I'm not aware about the numbers, but most of the population, they take only one meal, and there is
So
also
hunger, poverty, unemployment. What else do you think is a problem or a challenge?
agriculture. The monocropping practices in agriculture is one of the challenges that I can think of, which can be used for alleviating all the three things, sir, in a positive sense. Whereas we can utilize the agriculture properly in a planned sense with targets. I think all the above three, where poverty, hunger, and inequality can be addressed to a certain extent. Simultaneously, other programs, when we can address other programs also.
You know, talk in terms of a global phenomenon which is affecting every country and the lives and the environment of all people all over the world. What's that problem?
Sir, it might be terrorism and climate change also.
Okay, terrorism, does it affect people all over the world? Is it a universal phenomenon?
No, sir. It might be climate change. Climate change. Climate change. Sir.
Oh, that's right. So I'm glad that you said it now. What do you mean by climate change? And how does it affect India?
So climate change is the change in the climatic pattern for an average of 30 years. That might be because of rise in temperature or dip in the temperature compared to the last 30 average of 30 years. So coming to the challenges that India can face because of climate changes, one thing is because of India is mostly surrounded by the water in all the three sides, and to the fourth side it is because by the Himalayas, which is glaciated mostly. Because of climate change, there is a challenge that the glacier might melt, and that may cause the floods. That will be mostly affecting the northern part of India, sir. Then after, because of climate change, there might be a challenge of rising sea level, where most of the coastal parts, more than 7,500 kilometers of the coastal parts, will be inundated by the seawater, saline water. That may in turn challenge the coastal agriculture, coastal livelihood also, sir. Then after, because of these erratic monsoons, which will affect most of the entirety of India.
Okay, you are on the right track. Now, in respect of climate change, there is a big conference which was held recently, and there were certain decisions or certain protocol or certain understanding among countries. Do you remember that?
Sir, it's Glasgow summit.
Yes. Yeah.
Regarding the outcome is India has proposed a 5-point strategy to address the climate change as its contribution towards the globe. One is we are cutting down the emissions. We are moving towards afforestation, where we are planting the trees which can capture more than 4.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide, sir. Okay. We are also moving towards e-vehicles.
Well, during that conference and otherwise also, it is said that there are 2 or 3 major challenges which the poorer developing countries are facing in respect of tackling climate change problems. What are they?
One is regarding the funding, sir.
Yes, very good. Second
is that the southern part of the world, the south of the world, the developing countries are not responsible for the excess of emissions.
That's okay. That's okay. That is taken as read in the beginning itself. But other than funding, what is being generally said is that access to technology, access to technology which is relevant for tackling the problems of climate change. So these are the 2 issues which the developing countries are bringing about. And you think, what is the target that India has given to itself in terms of achieving the goals of climate change? Our Prime Minister made an announcement. You remember
he mentioned 5 points. 5 points.
Yeah. What's the major thing in terms of numbers, figures?
Sorry, sir, I can't recall the exact figures right now.
Okay. We are committed to a certain target.
Yes.
And we have given a date in 2050. That's what we are saying.
On this, yes.
We read up on that.
Yes.
Okay, now, not more of questions, but as a kind of response from you, if you are posted to a district like your own, you have a general idea of the district, but before you get on to the major, really challenging, tasks of a district magistrate, what would be your approach?
Sir, in my district, sir, or surrounding districts?
Pardon me?
Sir, in my district, sir.
Yeah, any district you take, for instance, of course, as far as your district is concerned, you know more about it. But any district in the country.
Whenever I take the charge as a district magistrate, sir, first I will conduct a survey, the grassroots survey, to note what are the problems that are really prevailing in that district, sir. Then after, I will formulate a plan whereby I will know what are the challenges, formulate a plan to address all these challenges. And I will create a team which has expertise on all the different matters, all the different problems that are prevailing in the district. Then I try to create the infrastructure, and then I will try to implement, then track the progress of the district, and I will find out the lacunas that where my steps are. Sorry,
Even I ask you, how long will you take for completing this exercise?
sir, I will set up a target of initial 1 year to know what are the initial 1 year, sir.
And what is the normal tenure of a district magistrate?
5 years, sir.
5 years.
Yes.
Okay. I think in the most part of
transferred well before.
years or 3 years. Huh?
Sorry, sir. Thank
Well,
you.
you are a very, what do you call, a systematic approach. But I don't think once you are on a job like a district magistrate, you will have the time to do this elaborate exercise. There are various other ways of finding out what is the problem. There must be, you are not the first one. Your predecessor would have done some work. There will be lots of records. There are other officers who are knowledgeable. Won't you try to tap those before before conducting a survey?
I will do that, sir. Thanks for correcting me.
I suggest that when you answer questions, even be a little more practical. Look at the practical aspects of what you are suggesting, because you are not going to be an academician. You are going to be a practicing administrator. So you have your solutions, and you may not get too much of time for leisurely study. You have to act on the spur of the moment. If you are facing a crowd, what is the agitation going on in I don't know, Andhra Pradesh?
Telangana, sir. Paddy procurement.
What is that? What is that paddy procurement? Yes. What is that problem?
There is excess of paddy that has been produced, sir.
There is
Excess of paddy production, sir, in Telangana. After measure of the policies and schemes because of state government, and in this Kharif season, because of high temperatures, there is a high chance that most of the rice is known as parboiled rice, which has high amount of breakage. Grains has a chance of breakages. This is the one challenge that there is a bone of contention between the union government and state government, saying that this parboiled rice cannot be procured because there is high amount of parboiled rice that has been already procured by the FCI. There is more than enough of the buffer stock, and the state and other parties are demanding that it has to be procured by the FCI. So this is the bone of contention between the union government and state government that is going right now.
I don't know the exact details, but I think this is the problem. But why I asked you this, a larger question about procurement, about production of cereals, wheat, rice, etc., wheat paddy, etc., is a national problem. So you should be aware of it, because if anything connected to agriculture, it's very natural for the members of the board to raise in one form or the other. So you should have a general idea of the agricultural scene in India. Okay, one is about the production part of it, then the problems which the farmers are facing, then the procurement, and the distribution. So all these are related to each other. So you should have an integrated understanding of the agriculture scenario in the country, because that is very, very important. Okay. Now,
sir.
I would also suggest that you read up a little more. You know, you're very hesitant in the beginning, but you came out with the right answers later. In the beginning, you are very hesitant to whatever I
General.
trying to find out. You came out with the right answers, but you had to be a little bit prodded on that. So I think you brush up your understanding, I mean, your knowledge, and particularly in respect of matters which are of current importance. We did touch a lot of areas in relation to the, you know, 3 or 4 major things which are happening in the world, 2 or 3 things which are happening in India, what is in our neighborhood. These things should attract you, I mean, should be, you know, on your antenna. You should be careful about reading them. What is the date of your interview?
May 6th, sir.
Oh, you have time.
Use this time to brush up your knowledge on all these. And so far you have done extremely well. There are very few who make it in the first attempt to come up to the level of the interview. So you have it in you to come up, you know, successfully in this interview also. So be confident. Vijay, would you like to say something to him?
You want to ask any questions?
No, I'm okay.
Yes, ma'am. I have
He
one
wants to ask, yes, if he wants to ask.
Yeah, Sharath, hello.
sir, regarding cow slaughter, sir. Cow slaughter, because I'm a graduate of veterinary science. And
That's a bit of a controversial thing. Be very careful, read up properly. And if I were you, I would not, you know, say something which is very, very controversial, you know, and get into an argument with somebody or the other. It's very, very unlikely. There are so many such very sensitive things. And there, if you ask me, you know, you should not commit yourself to any particular position. Even if you believe in something, be a little bit hypocritical in that, because that may lead to a controversial discussion.
You can concentrate on the health, particularly of cows which are no longer milk producing, and therefore the need to keep them, and that they are the big problem. And you know, the recent questions about the problems which farmers have been facing because of the
Stray cattle.
the stray cattle, that you can put a much more emphasis.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Kiran, would you like to?
No, I think we should be okay. Except that you must brush up your knowledge about your own state and your district. Get hold of the state profile and read everything about the education and health indicators of your area. Okay.
I think he really doesn't have adequate knowledge about his state.
No,
What
that's
are the
what I'm
main?
suggesting. He should
Yes,
read up all that.
yes. And to say that he'll do a survey of 5 years, you know, there are SMS surveys and all. There's so many surveys conducted. A lot of information is generated in this country, particularly at the district and lower level. So he should make use of that. I think he'll get stuck if he's not clear about these
One
things.
way to go about first is, you know, there will
Otherwise,
be
he's very good, but he really needs to brush up on the nitty-gritty.
your state information department would have a lot of literature about the state of Andhra Pradesh, of
Yes.
Telangana, and your own district. There are booklets published by the Directorate of Publicity or whatever it is. Access one of them and then brush up your knowledge. You may not be required to know what is the exact acreage or how many kilometers of road and all that, but you have a general idea of the district, geographic area,
Yes.
main features, main problems. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But wish you all the very best, Sharath. Face the
Best of luck.
Only-
Do well.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you,
luck. You'll make it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're optimistic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can log off.